MacGybo.
Hi, I'm MacGybo, and today I'm going to teach you how to be a loot thief. Specifically, a loot thief on the Jita IV-4 station. There are other loot thieves already there, and the reason I'm teaching you this today is because I want you to loot out ahead of them. And if you can't loot out ahead of them, I want you to let me know. The loot thieves that are there, specifically Kuranayu Chiha Majin Vihito, they tell me that they are doing this manually. They're in Germany, the servers for CCP are in London, but they say they've got a better ping than people in the UK. I don't know if that's likely to be true, but they say that they do this manually. They can loot wrecks ahead of the gankers who are shooting the wrecks, even though these loot thieves could be sitting there for 90 minutes, 2 hours before any wrecks pop up. They don't know when it's going to pop up, but they seem to be able to loot it ahead of the people who do know that it's coming. What I'm going to do is teach you how to be a loot thief. Try and loot ahead of them. Let me know if you're successful. Equally, I'd like to know if you keep trying this and you're unsuccessful. Because if you follow this guide and these loot thieves are telling the truth about doing this manually, then the odds are that you should be able to loot ahead of them. If you can't, perhaps they're not doing it manually after all. The setup I've got today is just one pilot. And you can even do this with an alpha character. I think it is probably the most money you can earn as an alpha character. Because if you do it right, you could be getting billions. So the docking point at Jita is where the ships land if they come in through one of the 3 main gates into Jita and then just click warp to station. And those couple of kilometers where people often fall short when they're docking is where a lot of these deaths happen, and it's where the loot bots and the loot thieves hang out. So that's where we're going to go. But before we go there, I'm going to show you how to set up your overview and your UI to increase the chances of you getting the loot. I'll talk over the mechanics as well. So the first thing that you want is an overview set up correctly, and that's what I've got here. And I've got 4 tabs. One's got everything, one's got just ships, one's got just wrecks, and one's got the station. Now you're probably going to want to dock up just by right clicking on the station and docking that way, but if for whatever reason you can't, you just know it's just one tap over and there you are. So when a wreck shows up, it looks like this, and it just flashes up. I mean, there's a couple of different ways that people who use automation are looting the wrecks, and if it shows up empty straight away, then they're not even using like a mouse clicker to get it. They're using something more advanced than that. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that this is showing up and no one else has immediately looted it. So what you want to do, this is all about clicking. What you want to do is double click on it, and you will see that in the inventory window that I'd opened up there, the wreck shows up. And here's something there. I'll just open this out a bit. It says loot all, and that is the button that you want to hit. Now I've got my overview set up here, so when I view a wreck it disappears, but what I'm going to do is just change that back a little moment, just so we can still see that wreck, because I'm going to show you what we're going to do. If you double click to open the wreck and then move over to loot all, that mouse movement is going to take you too long. So what you can do is move that over where the top line is, where the wreck actually is, and just leave it sitting underneath. Now let's just close that and pretend that I haven't clicked on that wreck. This is what happens if you click on that wreck and just keep clicking. You'll double click that, it brings this window to the fore, and then you can click loot all. So it just looks like this. And in one swift movement, I have looted that wreck. I'm just going to move over to the other wreck. When you're on the docking point, you won't need to move to the different wrecks. You'll just be able to, they should just be in your reach. And that's because you should have a big ship. And I'm going to go over what kind of ship you're going to want to use if you want to be a loot thief on 4-4. So I'm just going to show you that maneuver again. So let's pretend that this wreck has just appeared. So you're going to know it's going to be in the top line of the overview here. So as soon as it comes up, you're clicking and it's straight into your cargo hold. Now the only ways that people are going to be able to loot before you is if they're clicking faster, they've got a better ping, or they're using third-party software. Now a couple of things has happened here. When I looted that wasn't my wreck, and it wasn't one I had access to, so I went suspect. And that means that other pilots can freely engage me, but it doesn't stop me from docking up. So it's important that the point at which you go to loot these wrecks is right at the docking point at the station, so you can dock up before anyone really gives you an awful lot of grief. So that's the technique to get the loot into your cargo hold. Let's take a look at the ship itself. Now you'll see that people are using haulers. The most common one is the Wreath, but you see other T1 haulers as well. Now the reason that I think people use the haulers is because they're large, so they've got a large surface area, which means that you reach out to the wrecks a bit more. You're a bit closer to all of the wrecks. I might be wrong with how that works. I don't know if it's like 5 kilometers away from the center point of your ship or the outer point of your ship. But in theory, a larger ship would be closer to everything because it's bigger. That could be a load of rubbish. It's just me surmising. The second reason that you want an industrial is because, well, it holds more, doesn't it? This Wreath, with very, very basic mods, is 7,280 meters cubed. And let's just take a little look at the fit. Now this is my fit. You can tweak it, change it, improve it. It's just something that I've pretty much thrown together. And I'll talk you through the mods. You don't need anything in the high slots. You can maybe stick a salvager on there. So if there's other wrecks there, you can just ping them away and get the salvage that way. But what I've gone for is an afterburner to help you dock and get to the point a little bit quicker. Loads of shield, including an active multi-spectrum shield hardener, just for protection for the point at which you're docking, and also if anyone else feels like taking a pot shot at you. And for the same reason, we've got on damage control as well, which just helps bump your HP up to 17,827, so it's going to take 2 lucky tornadoes to bring you down. Reactor control unit gives you the extra oomph that you need to put in the large shield extenders. Nanofiber internal structure gives you a bit more speed and agility at the expense of hull, but if you're down to hull in this fit, you're in trouble anyway. And then 2 cargo expanders, which again, they bring down the hull, and unfortunately they do affect your velocity as well, which is why it's even more important to get your 10 MN afterburner in, your 10 meganewton afterburner. And then the cargo hold optimization, I've just put in T1 rigs. You can put in higher ones if you want. So that's what I'm using here. I'm going to share everything that I'm telling you here, not just in the video, but I've set up a channel in-game called LootThief, no spaces. And if you join it, the message of the day will give you the fit of this ship. It will give you the overview that I'm using. It will also give you access to a shared folder that I've got called, there it is there, called LootThief, which has got 2 important bookmarks for you. One is the loot point itself, and the other one is the instant undock point from the station. So you can undock, warp to the instant undock, which is a good, 360 kilometers out, and then walk back to the loot point. And that will get you in the right spot. Another hint, all the clicking up here is going to end up being like this. Very noisy, very irritating to people around you. So there is something, for Windows anyway, that's built in that's called mouse keys. And what you can do is switch it on. That's it. And then your numeric keypad becomes a control for your mouse. And for me, it's just the number 5. So rather than clicking this all the time, I'm clicking the number 5, which is a lot quieter. If you're tempted to use software that will do clicking for you, don't. The reason that you should not do that is it is against the EULA, the user agreement, the end user legal agreement, is it? It's against the terms of service to use automation, third-party software to automate actions in game. Now there are people who do use clickers and automation. We have even seen within the last week that I did a video about a ganker on the station proving that he used automation. All 7 of his characters, his counts, they've all been banned for using automation. And it's really, really obvious. If it looks too quick to be a human, then it's likely not a human. And I know that there are people who hang around on the Jita station filming what goes on, just waiting for someone to trip up. And the ganker the weekend there who was banned, he's not even the first one. There's other loot thieves, not just gankers but loot thieves, who've been banned for exactly the same thing. And I know of other gankers as well who've been banned, quite rightly, for using automation and mouse clickers. So don't do it. Part of the reason that we're doing this is to get enough evidence about the loot thieves that are there that we can get rid of them. So now I've just got to wait out my suspect timer before I can go to the station. So I'm going to go over a couple of things while I'm waiting for this timer to go down that will make it so you can loot a bit quicker. The first thing is close everything else. Close the Eve launcher. Close any other programs that you've got running in the background. There was a ganker referred to trying to loot ahead of other people as the millisecond wars. And it's such a good name. You know who you are. Thank you very much for that. It's a brilliant name for it. And everything that you do to help you get there a little bit quicker could make the difference. So we've already done the overview. Now, the other thing that you can do, which makes Eve super ugly, and I'll briefly do it to show you, is Control Shift and F9. And what that does is it turns off the 3D graphics and it makes things a lot easier. See if I just put the 3D graphics back on and just show you there. So I'm up at, 130, 140 frames per second. I turn off the 3D graphics and everything starts running a lot faster. So that helps as well. I'll put it back on for now. Use a wired connection to the internet. If you're using Wi-Fi, it's not likely you're going to get very much. You want to do everything that you want to try and make your connection as fast as you possibly can. Don't be downloading stuff in the background or anything like that. Do everything that you normally would to make your internet connection as quick as possible. So what I'm going to do now, my suspect time is gone, is I'm going to warp to the loot point. Now this is really, really important. Your safety has to be partially disabled. If you don't turn that to partially disabled, you'll not be able to loot anything because that prevents you from going suspect. So I've walked there. I'm just going to approach the location. And we can see there are some gankers there. Now you'll notice that I'm using Photon UI, the new UI. If you're not using Photon, then you'll find that the loot all button's at the left side of this window here, so you'll have to make your own adjustments to make that work. So we've got Kamikaze Jita out here looting already. So all you need to do is keep your mouse over there. Now, he's in a tornado, so the kind of things that he can shoot will be things like T1 haulers, Synesis, and he probably, I don't know if he could get a shuttle because of the tracking. But he's going to be looking for slightly larger targets. I mean, his loot ship there is a Nereus, which is a T1 industrial. So all you've got to do is sit here, and anytime a potential target gets close, like there's a retriever or a jackdaw, hang over this bit and just keep pressing the loot button. So there's an Iteron coming up. Just keep tapping the loot button. Now, did you see that? That was a pilot called Kill Lulu. And yet I still managed to go suspect. That's interesting. Ah, so I did loot some stuff. Well, I will speak to Kill Lulu and get him his stuff back, because he is not one of the bad ones. So that was Kill Lulu. I did manage to loot ahead of him, and I went suspect. And I've asked him to post the kill mail. And there, you can see that we did manage to loot ahead of him, although nothing dropped. So I'm going to give him his stuff back. The only thing that's dropped is what we picked up there. And he's made the comment of, I didn't even see the wreck, that was fast. So what I'm going to do is give him his stuff over. So he said that that was fast. You saw how I managed to do it, and you saw how easy it was. And you can do that. And if you do happen to make billions out of this, and you do want to give me a 20% cut, I'll reluctantly accept it. So that's how to be a loot thief. Go and give it a try. Let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye now.